I realized quickly that I had two choices. I could either pity myself and the situation, or I could get up and move on. Every creation you see in this world starts in somebody's brain. You imagine and you dream it, and you can make it possible.
Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Business Narrative. And today we have a healthcare professional. With that, he is building an AI platform which is helping DSOs to scale their businesses and standardize their clinical services. With that, he is anesthesiologist. He is none other than Neal Johnson. Neal, thank you so much for your precious time.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
The pleasure is all mine. So, Neil, do let me know how hard was for you 2019 bankruptcy and how it affects you personally and mentally. And the good part was you recovered. I know so many people, they were unable to recover from this phase.
It's always difficult when you're in a situation where you don't have money, right? And I've been working for a while, and then I had quit my job for different reasons. I quit my job, and at that time, I was off on my own, trying to make it, working in different offices across California for a while. And it was very difficult to get into some of these offices and get the work I needed to be able to survive. So at that point, I had to file bankruptcy so that I did not take what precious dollars I had left to just keep, I wasn't bringing anything in. So keep paying money out was not going to work. So that was a very difficult time. It's something that I'd never considered before. And but I found myself drowning in the debt. I had to find a way out. And that was the only way that I could find out at the time. That gave me some breathing room. So yes, it was a very difficult time. It was almost now 7 years ago, but during that time was really, really difficult. But everybody has bumps in the road, right? So it's not the end of the world. I'm not going to jail or anything like that. So you just have to pivot and, change your mindset and determine how you're going to move forward.
So, do let me know what kept you going in that particular time, at that difficult time. And on the other side, what was the mindset and how you shifted your mindset toward builder mode?
Sure. So, I mean, yeah, there are obviously times when you're depressed and you figure that, you should just give up and, find something else to do, but for me, that was brief. There were times when I felt like that. I was depressed quite a bit and, trying to figure out where I was going to go next and all those kind of things. So it was kind of difficult. But, I realized quickly that I had two choices. I could either pity myself and the situation, or I could get up and move on, and there's several people who filed bankruptcy more than once and do very, very well afterwards, so I figure I'm no different than them. So why should I be worried about that? So I said there's nobody coming to rescue me. So I was going to figure it out myself. So I said, well, I am going to have to take this into my hands. And I decided that I was just going to shift the way how I thought about business and the way how I thought about getting work. And that's how I started, networking a lot better and more often. And people recommended me for different jobs, and then things exploded right after that, right? So I couldn't take all the work I was getting at one point, so that's how things turned around in that regard.
What was the exact moment when you decided to link healthcare with latest technology in 2021 or 2022 as an anesthesiologist, right? So, because many people think healthcare will not going to adapt AI or any other technology.
Sure. I mean, technology and healthcare are not, they're not mutually exclusive. I mean, I don't believe you can, in this modern era, do anything in healthcare without the appropriate technology, at least not efficiently, right? And maybe in some places across the world that may not, where technology is not so integrated into this healthcare system, it makes things inefficient. Patients are not served very well. And as a result, you also have, increasing morbidity or mortality because of those kind of things, right? But in the terms of uh, me and looking at technology, I've always cared about technology because, and selfishly, anything developed it for myself because I just wanted things to go faster, better. And so that's how I started. I said, I have to find a way to do things faster and better. And I just started building stuff for myself to make life easy for me. And something as simple as just going digital rather than using paper based. So a lot of my colleagues still use paper. I don't. And I haven't for many, many, many years. I don't care to do that at all. And as I travel back and forth to many places and to work, I saw a lot of problems that could be solved. And there were problems that were kind of showing up everywhere I worked. So that is when I decided, well, you know what, I need to fix it. Like I said, selfishly for myself. And then after a while, I realized, you know what I build can help other people as well. And I wanted to share that. So that's how I got all into this building software and using AI. And AI has certainly made it easier to build and go much faster.
When I was researching about you, I came to know that you have built some softwares or websites by your own, and you had a medical background, right? You were a medical professional. So, have you taken any sort of classes for this, or like it was a built in thing in you?
I think what people may not appreciate, and not to say they don't understand, they don't appreciate that every creation you see in this world starts in somebody's brain, right? So it starts somewhere. So you imagine and you dream it and you can make it possible. So for me, my motto is there's always a way. So I always found a way to solve problems and using technology to do it. And I didn't need to have any formal training. Like I said, AI made things a lot easier, but I just tinkered myself with trying to figure it out. And uh, that's how I started. I didn't take any classes, like you said. I just figured it out on my own, and I started building it that way. And then when AI started to formally become more prevalent, it just made what I built go faster. And then, of course, I have friends who are also in technology, in software development, who then took what I had created and used that to make it better and to put all the touches on it to make it a viable product. So I would say that for most things, I don't wait on people. I figure it out myself. That's just me. Some people are different, but I figure it out myself. I don't need to have the formal training necessarily.
So, after that setback, do let me know. Networking help you to rebuild your empire, or like networks or your people who were close to you, they help you to grow your business.
As far as networking is concerned, it did not come to me as something that I needed to do. It just happened pretty organically. And because I traveled in many places to work inside of the country and outside of the country, I just came across a bunch of different people in my travels working and doing a good job for people wherever I worked. So because of that, uh, and the attitude I have when I showed up to work and those kind of things, people introduce me to their friends, and they're like, "Oh, I know some person who is doing this. I should introduce you to them." And this how it all started to snowball. And sometimes it only takes one person, right? So you know, then after a while, I realized when I really wanted to start putting more effort into building technology and scaling these systems, that I started to think about who I knew. And it just suddenly hit me that I knew a lot of people. And I didn't even realize I knew that many people. And so I had people I can call on who, if they didn't know, they knew somebody who knew. And the important thing is not just what I got out of it. It is what a lot of people also got out of it, because I realized, because I knew that many people call me all the time or text me, email me, say, "Hey, can you help me with this? Do you know any person?" And my answer has always been yes, because I know a lot of people and I know people who know people. So anytime somebody asks me for help or introduction with certain people or whatever, I'm like, yeah, I pretty much know there's somebody in my network I can help, I can connect you with. And doesn't cost you anything, right? You want to help people, so it doesn't cost me anything. And I realized after working so many years that there are a lot of people I know and a lot of people who I know are willing to help other people as well. And again, it doesn't cost. I don't charge people to help them connect them to somebody else. It's just, I think everybody wins if somebody can be successful.
I want to mold this question towards aspiring entrepreneurs because they think that they have a lot of links and they can use their links as in capital to scale up their businesses. So, as an expert, what is your take on it?
So everything isn't. There's some things that are really transactional. Um, Not everything is, but many things are. And I remember that years and years ago, I even, in my parents' era and before their parents, when people wanted certain services, they would barter, right? So money was never really exchanged. So somebody would say, well, if you can do this for me, I will do this for you. I will give you this or that. I don't have the money, but I can do this for you if you do this for me. So people bartered a lot in order to get certain things done. And for me, I don't always have money to do everything. So my job allows me, especially the last couple of years, was pretty good. It allowed me to use what I earned to start building and paying to get a lot of stuff done. But when I didn't have the money, I just worked out a barter system with other people in my network and say, hey, if can you help me with this? And then if you can help me with this, then I will help you with this other thing. And so I figured out what was important to them and exchange services that way. And then it didn't always have to be about money. And I think that going about it this way is not always. Some people just can't always do it this way because it may be uncomfortable for them. But you got to do what you got to do. So if you really want something, you'll figure out a way to get it done. That's what I tell people. There's always a way to get something done, and it doesn't have to be the conventional way. As long as it's ethical and legal, you should just do it. So for me, I made sure that I had value to offer, and most times that's how it started. I offered my services without any type of expecting anything in return. And it just so happens that's what comes back to you. You help people, people help you. And I think if you take that forward thinking, what can I offer? Then you recognize that over time, when it is your turn and you're looking for something, people will also offer to you without looking for anything in return as well. So there are just multiple ways this work, and it doesn't always have to do with money.
So, why did you choose fully bootstrap your business instead of taking loans or instead of taking investments from others? Like, why you are a big believer of bootstrapping?
Uh, well, I think I don't. I really don't like the idea of venture capital and pitching, and I don't like it. Right? It feels, in some ways, it just feels artificial, and I don't particularly care for that. And I figure I would take my project and my company as far as I possibly could, bootstrap it, getting help from other professionals, trading with them on services, and for maybe some equity later on down the road or something of the sort. But that did not involve me taking any venture capital funding. It's not to say that it wouldn't happen later, but that's not how I wanted to start. And I just wanted to focus my time building what it is I wanted to build without any outside influence. And I have several friends who live and work in Silicon Valley. I went to school up there, and I know several people. And if I had a question about something or I needed their input, I just call them and say, hey, what do you think about this? And because they work in that area, they can share their feedback with me. I had coaches along the way as well. I mean, I had access to a lot of people who know a lot of things. And I decided that I wanted to bootstrap because I did not want to get caught up in the whole venture capital stuff. I wanted to make sure I can prove out my idea first, spend the time building it myself, and then it gives me greater leverage later on. Sometimes people take funding too early, and they lose some of their ability to foster the right direction. Me, I just wanted to do it myself and work with a couple of people who are friends of mine who also have the expertise, and we can pool our resources together and take it to a point where when we start getting traction, then now if you decide to take venture capital money, you're in a much stronger position than you would have been initially. So that's really my thought about doing it that way. I've always wanted to do it that way.
So, what is the one crucial lesson bootstrapping taught you?
Bootstrapping is difficult, but the thing you learn is you learn how to prioritize very well. You learn how what ideas give you the most traction, and it forces you to think very deeply or more deeply about your particular problem that you're trying to solve and the different ways you can go about solving it that are the most efficient. Because if we're talking about efficiency, obviously you have to be efficient with the limited funds that you have. So bootstrapping is not easy, it's difficult, and it's not for everyone. But it's what I wanted to do. And it allowed me to think a lot clearer without any particular outside influence, um, and really focusing on what the problem was and what the solution possibly could be, and in a very lean, systematic manner. And that does teach you quite a bit versus having a bunch of money that you can spread around in different places, right? You learn quite quickly what's important and what's not important.
In dentistry, people has a lot of options, right? They have a lot of softwares, AI tools nowadays, and you always talk about fragmentation in dentistry. Like, why you always raise this topic?
Because even in the era of AI, and it is so easy to create these days, people are creating a whole ton of tools. And if you are a owner of a business and you're looking for the tool to do a particular thing, there's so many of them. And you say to yourself, well, what do I pick? So there's a tool for this, there's a tool for that. In dentistry, there's a tool for image analysis, one for revenue cycle management, one for engagement, all these different things. And that's good. But then how do you know that the tools, number one, the tools that you have right now are actually giving you the return on investment that they claim to, and by how much? Number two, you have them all together to be able to improve your functions as a business, but then many of these tools are siloed and there's no connection between them, so you can't really surface insights from all of them all at the same time to know what is really actually happening in the business. So that type of fragmentation and is something that needed to be solved. And some people are working on that, but that's how I saw it. I saw it as all these different tools connected to patient management systems or electronic health records, and they don't talk to each other. So how do you really know exactly what, and you have all these different logins to these different things? It's just not practical. And, the solution that I came up with is one that sits on top of everything and pulls all the insights in together, right? So now you're able to surface, you can just go one place and surface all the insights all at one time. It tells you what the image is saying, the revenue, it connects everything together so that you can have a full picture of what's going on right in front of you from the time you log in. So it makes it quite easier to do that. Now, some companies, how they're solving a problem is slightly different. They're bundling a bunch of different products together and offering two or three things at once, which is fine. Uh, But the way how I see it is because there's so much different patient management systems in the first place. They're about two, 300 or more, right? Then how do you, people are not going to keep ripping out and replacing the patient management system just because you have a particular software that only works on this one. So the key is to provide a solution that works on any of them. And that's what we do.
Lastly, do let me know what is one mistake entrepreneurs in your field they are continuously making, and if they stop making that mistake, can get desired results.
I think every generation has something to offer. And I think it's best to kind of learn exactly what is important to every person. And so I don't like to necessarily disparage one generation over the other. I know, I'm part of Gen X, so I look at things differently than Gen Z, Gen Y, or millennials, for example. I look at things quite differently. And I am from a generation where it just takes something, you just have to grind it out. It takes a lot of hard work, right? And things don't come easy. But I think those are lessons that people learn in practice rather than you having to tell them, well, hey, this is how things work. They'll learn, they're going to learn in practice right very quickly that there's no substitute for working hard. And you don't have, and where there's a smarter option, you work smarter. But working smarter does not mean you don't work harder. So they're not mutually exclusive. You can work hard and smart all at the same time. There's no substitute for that. I have not found it. I've not seen it in anything that I've done or anything that others have done. You talk to any entrepreneur, any person who's starting a business as a founder, co-founder, whatever, the stories are almost the same, right? The late nights, I've been up to 2, 3 in the morning, haven't slept, working on something. It is not for the faint of heart. It's just how it goes. And you use the tools that you have to make things easier for you so you can build faster now and you can iterate faster than you've ever been able to do before. So that is good, especially in this AI era. But it's still no substitute for putting in that work in the first place to get to that point. You still have to. Nothing has been created that solves that problem quite yet.
Thank you so much, Neil, for your precious time, and I hope all the viewers will going to love the podcast. If you love the podcast, do subscribe the channel and help us to build a community of entrepreneurs. We will be going to meet you in another exciting episode. Keep listening, keep achieving, and keep daring.